I feel like the Fed is Best book is the most comprehensive book on how to do infant feeding that I have ever read. And I think it's got a lot of great science behind it and just really a non-judgmental approach, which is fantastic because, again, this is not a one-size-fit-all sort of thing. It is what fits your family best. This is information that all new families should have and should read, and it's definitely something I'm going to be like, do you know about this book? Would you like to read this book? Let me give you this book. Because it's so wonderful. And yeah, all the resources that you have in there, it is so comprehensive. And it actually gets right down to all the important stuff that you need to know. I mean, I've definitely read and listened to a bunch of different parenting books and other things that it's like a bunch of fluff in there. This is not like a lot of fluff. This is like really great information from cover to cover. So I'm so glad that you guys wrote this book. I'm so glad that you started this foundation. I feel like hopefully this will swing the narrative to something that's a little bit more reasonable. And so parents can go back to just enjoying their babies and not feeling like they have somehow failed.
Well, so for one, the book is so fabulous. I actually cried. I was discharged from the hospital with a newborn, first-time mom, but I was very well informed, very committed to breastfeeding, was not provided with much information about how to know if your baby's getting enough. I had The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding.
So did I.
Yeah, not a good book. So I remember being at home with my newborn that was either screaming or sleeping, had to be attached to my boob at all times. I remember thinking there has to be something in this book about what I'm supposed to be doing. And it just kept saying, feed the baby, feed the baby. I called the lactation consultant at the hospital. Oh, just keep doing what you're doing. I called the La Leche League. They said, just don't give the baby a bottle, whatever you do. By the time we went in to see the lactation consultant in person, she had lost a little bit of weight. They kept saying, you can supplement with formula. We want you to triple feed the baby, both sides, give the baby formula through the SNS. We want you to pump, and then we want you to do that every 2 hours into perpetuity. The next day, we came back. They sent us in for a bilirubin test, and their bilirubin was 21. They said, take them to the emergency room. They were admitted having lost 20% of their birth weight. I thought I had completely failed as a parent. I remember trusting this breastfeeding book to tell me what I needed to do to feed my child, for my child to be healthy, how to be a good mom, and it absolutely did not have that information. So when I read this book and then saw not only is it a brilliant analysis of the history of infant feeding, like, oh my gosh, Christy, you should be so proud. The medical knowledge that I think every parent needs to know about how feeding can go well and about how feeding can go catastrophically bad. But then the practical information that's inclusive. I have never read the words combo feeding in a parenting book. I have never seen a parenting book say the words formula is a safe feeding choice. Everything that I've seen about infant feeding from baby-friendly hospitals said things like formula puts your child at risk for SIDS, obesity, asthma, all the myths that you dispel in the first half of this book, but then going on to honor the choice, to honor individual families deciding what works for them. It's so meaningful. I can't tell you how important this is to read.
I thought I knew everything about being a mom. I had read books, read myself as best as I could, but when I had to have a C-section because baby was already distressed. It was 2 hours when they finally gave me my baby. He's crying his lungs out. First, I tried breastfeeding, but he was so distressed, not wanting to latch. So I was just give him the little bottle. So when the nurse walks in, she goes, "What are you doing? Like, why are you feeding him? I thought you wanted to breastfeed." Well, now he's not going to want to breastfeed because you just gave him the formula, and that stayed with me. I was in a group of breastfeeding moms. They would tell me, you have to breastfeed. Don't give him formula. If I didn't do the formula, he would be crying all night. But when I found Fed is Best, I learned about other moms that had issues. I felt like I was not alone. I'm not a bad mom. My baby is fed. He was growing. So with my second baby, I was able to breastfeed, but she got jaundice. That's when they told me you need to supplement with formula. So I didn't want to listen, but my baby needed it. And then we went back to breastfeeding, which is also addressed in the book that when say you can't formula and then breastfeed successfully. That's why I found that's not true. I did it. She was breastfeeding perfectly and that worked for me. With my third baby, I did both breastfeeding and formula. So what I love about the book is that it doesn't discredit breastfeeding at all. It's not saying only formula. It's just giving out facts for moms to make their choice. Just do what you think is best. And that's why I love this book so much. At the end of the day, it's your journey, your baby's journey. Yeah. Whether formula, whether breast, as long as they are thriving, I think that's what should be the most important thing. We read everywhere that breast is best, and that message can be very harmful mentally for the mom and physically for the baby. Some moms are not able to breastfeed, and it's not something new. Then I found you guys, Fed is Best, and honestly saved me. It saved my babies, my mental health. I felt more knowledgeable, more supported. That's all it mattered. Thank you so much for this book. I think it's gonna help many moms, so many babies in their journey of growing and thriving, which is really the whole purpose of this.